Hey going, Da Vinci 999 coming at you from Byron Bay, Australia. What we're doing today is just talking about concussion and hydrogen. Now it's a big problem in sport, it's a big problem in domestic violence situations for families that are in trouble, military. There's so many places that concussion and banging our brains against our skull creates damage, and short-term and long-term. So I'm going to give you a rundown on, I'm working with hydrogen the last 7 years. We've found all these ways that have helped stop, prevent, regenerate concussion. So now we're on a global mission, on a world tour, bringing you crisis to clarity. We put it all in a book, all about hydrogen, from the green power made of water, all the way through to reducing all your oxidative stress, lifting all your ATP levels, and regenerating our whole humanity out of the dis-ease back to at ease eventually. Optimal sports performance is also a massive part of what hydrogen will bring into the world as it's accepted. But the one thing we can't fix is neurodegenerative diseases, and we can't fix Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any of those type of problems seem to slide, and as they're sliding, they just keep going. There's no big pharma fix. There's no pill you can take. But there is hydrogen. There's many ways that it works, but let's talk about concussion specifically, because at the moment we need our leaders in the sports world, the Olympics, the NFL, the AFL, the Premier Leagues, FIFA, all those people who lead these leagues have a duty of care for their players, for their teams, for their fans, and for the youth that are out there playing every day. So because we love sport and we don't want to stop it, we want to play it so it's safe, and we want it to make concussion a way that we're not damaged in the long run. So you don't want a professional player being a warrior, living a life of doing amazing athletic feats, and then suddenly by the time they hit 40, they're having this Alzheimer's symptoms, Parkinson's symptoms, where they're just emotionally, they can't even express themselves to their families. And without the game and the fans and all the big hoorah, it's a very alone journey. And because there is no fix for it so far, everyone is left to deal with that. And there's a lot of problems in the world that have come because we've understood this is actually a problem. Thank you to the doctor who brought it to our awareness. There's a movie with Will Smith about concussion, talking about the tau protein and how that's a killer protein and it gets overcreated with every concussion. Hydrogen blocks that, puts a blocker on it. Never, ever, ever happens. So in the future, there is no CTE. But to do that, you have to have the hydrogen first. But if you do this, you also have all these amazing health benefits, sports, higher performance benefits, training, recoveries, etc., etc. So there's benefits to protecting us in the long term and our short-term gains and goals that we're looking for. So let's talk about the first stage. What happens when your brain hits the side of your head on the inside, because there's no shock absorbers? The first thing that happens, every cell has got different pieces that are generic, nucleus, mitochondria, etc., etc. The mitochondria is the wiggly little worm bit that makes all the ATP, which is our energy, right? And you want to look up ATP and see all the big words that it means, go ahead. This is not that lesson. What you need to know most of all is that when your head hits the inside of your skull, all of your cells get so excited they think there's a party about to happen, and they start to utilize all their ATP and just pump their ATP energy out in anticipation of the next thing that's coming. But there's nothing coming because it was a bang on the head that the cell didn't realize. So what happens when all the cells use their ATP energy? Everything starts to lag and everything slows down, right? So that is the first symptom problem. The biggest problem, because it takes another 14 to 30 days for someone to regenerate all this ATP in their brain, not in their body, because that's a whole another level of how much energy is in our body. This is just in the brain, just inside the skull. So ATP levels empty. Cell signaling. Now, cell signaling is where you have two cells and they pass the message through the cell to the next cell, to the next cell, to the next cell, and that's going on. So you have an idea, goes through your body, comes back up. That's neurology. That's how our body's transmitted from our mind, our soul, into our body and into action, right? You want a goal, a dream, hold it in your mind, and then take the action that's inspired that matches that, and you'll be on your way to manifesting your dreams. You can't do that if you've got a head full of concussion. You can't do it if you've got a head full of brain fog. If you can't get your mind clear, how are you going to know what you want to manifest, what you need to think about? So these simple truths about hydrogen and how they work in the brain fix your brain, whether you're a professional sports person with a concussion or you're just having a hard time in life and you need to amplify the energy in your brain to get a better idea. So, first step, ATP levels, empty. Cell signaling. Now, neurology would run ideally, and it may not physically, but in the concept of it, it runs in tubes. There is microtubules. They're held together with tau proteins, and that's the protein that ends up creating CTE. But in these tubes, these lines, there's alignment. There's a flow of information that flows from your mind to your body, through your brain, and through all those cells. Now, when the concussion hits, the cell signaling goes every direction. Now, when cell signaling goes every direction, suddenly you see people having their bodies doing this crazy stuff from the hit, especially in the back of the head, like Toa from Miami Dolphins had a couple of hits in the back of the head. Second one sent him into a seizure almost, because he got hit in the same place in the back of the head twice in 1 week. Now, with the cell signaling going crazy, then that's the second point. So ATP is empty. Cell signaling is now multi-directional and no directional. And now you have what's called inflammation. So the way inflammation works is radical oxygen species or toxic free radicals are gathered and they start to party. And they're partying in your cell until the cell's getting swollen, and all the inflammation in the brain starts partying in your cell until the cell's getting swollen, and all the inflammation in the brain starts to be swelling with this energy. And this is the beginning of what's oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is cell damage created by toxic free radicals. So let's go back to the start of the concussion, and let's add now hydrogen in 4 stages. 4 of these issues, they're major issues. They can take months and months and months, and after a few big hits, some young kids, and especially in the women's sports, they're ending their careers. And that's the end of that dream. So, hydrogen. Now, to make hydrogen is really simple. Split water into hydrogen and oxygen, H2 and O1. You breathe it, and when you're breathing it through your nose especially, it's going straight into your brain. So it's the quickest, fastest way to relieve all of these symptoms on the planet, especially if you have it on the sideline where someone gets hit playing the game. So let's say it's on the sideline, you've had a big hit and you come out. You start breathing the hydrogen. What is the first thing it's doing? Well, there's a couple of things. The first stage, remember, was the ATP energy levels. Well, hydrogen turns radical oxygen species into water, which stops your inflammation, and then it generates in the mitochondria full banks of energy. Now, the mitochondria stacks up with radical oxygen species too, so that needs to be cleaned, and the hydrogen's so small a particle it can get into the nucleus, through the cell barriers, through the brain barriers, all of those places. So as it goes in, as a little ninja, and joins with the toxic free radical. So you may have a toxic free radical that's like an oxygen and a hydrogen, and the oxygen and hydrogen is acidic, and they're stealing electrons out of the cell. That creates the oxidative stress, and it creates the inflammation and all these things. Hydrogen donates to it and turns it into H2O. O, H, and H. O, H, and H, sorry. So that creates water, and then it's eliminated from the body, and then it regenerates the ATP energy in the cell, right, in the mitochondria. So stage 1, the ATP is instantly being recharged. So instead of waiting 30 days to get your body back online, your mind back online, and actually start regenerating the full energy into your brain, within 3 days we can regenerate all the energy your brain needs to bring itself back online with hydrogen gas. Right. cell signaling. The other thing that I've learned, and I started skateboarding at 47 after being in hospital and being 130 kilos, and in 6 months losing 30 kilos and cleaning my entire gut, and then started skateboarding at 47, which is the dumbest thing you can probably do. But I had hydrogen, and I was able to fix the bumps and bruises and blowing calves and all the other elements of my 47-year-old body, doing exercise at that level for the first time in a long time, and feeling like I was free and flying. What I learnt was the neurology was getting combed out every day. I was getting more and more into my body every day. And in the space of concussion, the cell signaling has just gone crazy. And we need like a comb to comb it back out and get it all flowing again and sink back in the body. And the hydrogen does this straight away, especially if you have a sleep on it. You're not meant to sleep after a concussion, but after a 24-hour period, you can have sleep. And in that sleep, this process is amplified. But even if you don't go to sleep and you sit there watching Netflix, it's still combing out the cell signaling. It's still recharging the ATP of the brain, and it's bringing back, and it's taking out the inflammation. So they are the short term and preventing oxidative stress, which is going to be long-term damage anyway. So they're the four most essential parts of concussion that most people won't tell you about because they don't know how to fix it. Hydrogen gas fixes it. My machines, you put water in it, splits the water, you breathe it. For the last 7 years, I've been living on water and gas. Obviously, I have food because I enjoy it, but the energy levels that I need, the fatigues that I used to have, the chronic brain fog I had is not there anymore, not for a long time. Because the mission now is to get everyone to understand this and get these leaders of the sports world to take this information and apply it to their players and apply it to the youth leagues, which we have a whole rollout plan. If they want to talk to us, email's there. If not, it's your duty of care. Remember, this is what we're working on. How to bring this crisis to solution. And in doing that, what we're going to find in the future is we can stop, prevent, and regenerate Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, crystal meth addictions, a lot of this neurology-based stuff that people are stuck with, even traumas that live in our neurology. We need to comb them out and reset them again. As we do this process, the hydrogen helps us eliminate all this stuff for our body and bring the body back online. So that is the short-term explanation of the four major pieces of concussion, what happens, and how hydrogen can fix that in 3 days. 3 days, probably 18 hours of breathing on different levels, different saturation levels. Excuse me. Right. What is the big thing in concussion for the long term? It's called CTE. Look that up with the big long words that it goes. But CTE is basically an overproduction of the tau protein. Now, when we have the tau protein, see, our brain has microtubules, and those tubules are in pieces and they're held together by this tau protein. Those tubules carry all that light information up and down the neurology, and as we have every little concussion has tau proteins that are created. Now, professional sports person, especially from the NFL, leading with the helmet, is always, since they're a kid, all the way through, is going to have lots of subconcussive flows and create a lot of tau proteins. And then in the end, you had the crisis where they cut their brains open after they're dead and they can see all the white matter through it. And that is the tau protein. Billions and billions of pieces of it. So, hydrogen, and there's science for this, I'll put it in the bottom so you can have a look. Obviously there's science for concussion damage, we'll put that down there too. But most importantly, the science of hydrogen in the traumatic brain injury space, we found science that blocks the tau protein 100% completely. So if you're having hydrogen, what does this mean? If you're having hydrogen generally, when you have that hit, that tau protein is blocked. It's not overcreated and just compounding interest to all the other tau proteins that have been overcreated until it just chokes the neurology eventually. Even halfway through, it's still half choked. So to prevent that, in all of the children in the world right now, hydrogen can be integrated. Now, people don't see the future of how that's going to be integrated, and we have guys that are working on green power, splitting water and running buildings on it, and we can take half of that gas that they make and we can turn it into therapy, and there's free hospitals in the future, free, say the Eagles Stadium, running on hydrogen power from water, and then generating a bunch of rooms that the local communities can come in and have free concussion treatments, hydrogen treatments, all that stuff. And that's all free because the power is free. It's come from water, and we can pull water out of the air if we really need to run it. And then we can actually use half of that gas as therapy for free. So the future of healthcare can be completely shifted. Yeah, and there's a whole way of retransforming our insurance companies to become assurance and health companies instead of fear and loathing, which they have been up to now. So this video has just shown you the 5 major pieces of concussion that we need to deal with. And a lot of, from all the information I've been researching the last 7 years, and every piece of new information that comes out, we've been putting it in together, and we've been testing it and trying it, and we've been watching my children, me, our community. Concussions are gone in 3 days, and the long-term effects are not going to be affecting people because the science is showing us that it puts a block on the tau protein 100%. This video hopefully finds millions of people, and if you can share this video, we can share some more light into the world. Hope it hasn't been too long, but there's a lot of information, and I bet you've never heard it before. So peace out. Love to the world. The future generations are requiring new health systems, new belief systems, and they're already on it. We just got to catch up. So to all the parents out in the world, I got 4 kids, let's make changes like this happen. If you need help with your own family, and if you need, just email me, hit me up in the comments. I will do my best to keep on top of that side of things. Anyway, this is the 25th of February, 2025. 25. So some special shit going on today. May you have a unicorn's magical day. Thank you.